How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another Emerald City Hockey post-game live presented by Flatstick Pub. RJ, the Kraken, they looked, this was the bounce back game, right? This was the bounce back game that we expected after the last Oilers game. And it was the kind of effort that the Kraken really did need to have after that loss to the Avalanche a couple days ago. That being said, they got closer to playing a full 60, or in this case 65, but they just weren't quite able to finish it off.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it on our live commentary with the patrons after about 50 minutes or so of this game, how this was the perfect bounce back effort that the Kraken needed. They were frustrating the Oilers. They were in their heads. They were in complete control. They were just circling around in the offensive zone. I mean, heck, even with about 4 minutes to go with a 1-goal game, they were playing keep away with the puck, and the Oilers couldn't even get the goalie pulled. And it all turns on a dime so fast with a couple of Vander Kane goals from pretty much the same spot on the ice, one to tie the game and send it to overtime, and the other the OT winner. And the Kraken are back in this spot that they've been for the last couple games, just wondering what the heck happened.
Yeah, it's another 2-goal lead gone. That's something that they need to deal with and figure out that they can't. I mean, you addressed so many of the things that were plaguing you, right? You had 36 shots on goal. That was great. They haven't been able to do that in a while. You held Edmonton with a dangerous power play to 0-3. You played McDavid and Draisaitl pretty well, with the exception of that first play, which we can break down, but it wasn't really them beating you as much as Larson maybe not playing that very well. But there was so much in favor of the Kraken in this one to kind of have it all go away the way it was. Almost, it basically, the game in just a few moments started circling like a golf ball around the hole, RJ.
There it is.
I was kind of stalling there to try to figure out a way of getting over to it. But yeah, post game live presented by Flatstick Pub. Post game, if you're on Kraken game nights in Seattle, post game you can get the $1 off beer. If you show your ticket at the South Lake Union location, pre-game get the 50% off games. Try to have some fun both before and after all those Kraken home games at that awesome location they have. Can't wait to check it out next week when I'm up there. But yeah, it's just like you said, it's a tough one. You don't want to see a game end that way when they played as hard as they did for as long as they did. Light with the super chat. It sucks the most when the Kraken, in my opinion, do the right things, play like they haven't all season, then lose in part thanks to questionable ref calls. So, you could maybe, clarify which one specifically you mean, Light, but I do have to wonder about the play on Belmar, RJ. Only being called a 2-minute, wasn't a 5-minute major. The hit to the head, was it Adam
Ernie?
Yeah, who did it. That we were talking about it through the live game commentary. We didn't have an audio feed or anything to go off of, but I was certainly surprised given what we've seen, not just with Kraken games, but games around the league, RJ, that they didn't go ahead, call it the major, and then look at the video and then back it down if they felt like they needed to. At least from our understanding, they didn't do that here.
Right. That's why the rule exists, so that you can go back, take another look at it if it's something that might rise to that level, which I think certainly in that context and looking at the hit, it's a hit to the head. He hits him right in the head, kind of gives him that shoulder shiver there. And, there's varying levels of severity, of course, with a hit like that, but to not even give it a look, I don't really understand. If you have the officials call it a major, take a look at it and ultimately decide, that's a minor. I can be more sympathetic toward, their decision to do that, but not even taking a look at it. I don't understand, especially with the game at that point. Kraken are up 3-1. It looks like frustration boiling over. That looks like one of those kind of hot-blooded type penalties where you go after a guy's head because you're upset about the way the game is going. So I was not a fan of that hit at all. But yeah, still, I think ultimately no excuses for the Kraken. Regardless, you get a power play, you still blow the two-goal lead from that point.
Right.
But you'd like to see that just from a player safety perspective, at least given the major right off the bat.
Right. Well, and it sounds like, maybe some other stuff that Light could have been referring to here with the next super chat from Seth. Thank you very much, Seth. How did the ref miss that call when Draisaitl held down Belmar after tripping him up on the draw? So I talked a lot about this draw when it happened, and the previous draw from Draisaitl against Matty Beniers, where Draisaitl's plan was clearly not to win the faceoff as much as I'm just going to go forward, use my body, and just take out the other player. right? Just not even let them be a factor on this face-off, and then one of my guys will come in and grab the puck. And it's an effective strategy. If he held him down, I mean, we have seen that before, RJ, right? Guy goes down in a situation like that. The other player loses their balance and has to steady themselves by pressing down on the other player to regain their composure there. It's just one of those things. It's like a hockey play to refs.
Yeah, and it's a veteran move from Draisaitl. Again, you have to know in that situation, like under 2 minutes to go, offensive zone face-off, the refs are not going to call a penalty that's essentially going to end the game and end any chance you have of tying the game for anything less than just mauling the guy off the face-off dot. That's unfortunately, that's just the reality of what it is in that situation. It's the same thing if the Kraken were down 1 and you send a guy in there to do that off the face-off. That's just kind of how it works.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a strategy though. If you've got the size to do it, that's the way it is. Duthan with the super chat here. Thank you very much, Duthan. Happy birthday, RJ. I wish the Kraken got you something better than just a point, but
Hey, you know what? Thank you, Duthan. I do appreciate the super chat. Appreciate the happy birthday wishes. Yeah, I was wondering what kind of game the Kraken would get me for my birthday. It was certainly an interesting one. But you know, I mean, this is, oh man, that was about to sound like so corny and sappy. But like the real present was getting to spend it with all of you. But I really do mean that. It's brought a lot of joy to my day getting to spend it with all of you.
yes, no, we did have a fun time despite everything. I know it didn't end the way all of us wanted to in that live game commentary, but we had a good time. All right, to jump back into the comments from other people who maybe weren't in there to express everything ahead of time. This team makes me physically ill. Oh, this is the bad place. Defeat from the jaws of victory. Yeah, this team is toast. It's a way to start off the chat, but I understand it. I mean, this, in some ways, right, this is as bad, if not worse feeling than the last 2 games that we saw where the Kraken were really out of it. So by the time the game ended, it was almost like a mercy rule. You're just like, okay, thankfully this is over. I don't have to watch it anymore. This is so much harder because the team did put in that effort. They put in the effort that has been a struggle for them, and they got the lead. But again, you're watching a 2-goal lead disappear. You're watching that lead disappear. You're watching them not be able to finish a game. And when it's close, it somehow just makes it worse, RJ.
It does. I mean, as far as gut punch losses, this has got to be right up there near the top in franchise history, I think, so far. You know, I know I've seen someone mention on Twitter, like the Arizona game in year 1 of just like, oof, this is really bad now. You know, you kind of get those feelings again.
Yeah. Light, to be clear for everyone here, chat included, I'm not saying the refs are the only reason we lost. They played a role, as did Adam Larson's bad D. All right. I mean, I'll talk about that one. And I didn't think you were saying that, Light, by the way, either. No, the Kraken, you know, they let this one get away from them. There's no other way to put it. Adam Larson on that first goal that kicked things off, that McDavid goal. No idea what he was thinking. No idea what he was doing there. You have Vince Dunn skating back with you. He's on Draisaitl already. I mean, I guess I do know what he was doing, right? You see him throw out his stick there. He was trying to aggressively defend his blue line. That thing I talk about loving from Adam Larson all the time. That's what he was trying to do against Leon Draisaitl there. He was trying to make a really aggressive defensive play. But you have to understand the situation. You have Connor McDavid coming in on you. This is a 2-on-2 situation. You have to trust your D partner there to be there. You got to stay in the passing lane, or at least stay in front of McDavid, because I mean, it is McDavid, but regardless of who it is, you're not going to be able to catch up to that guy if you don't make the play, which is what happened. Larson doesn't make the aggressive play. He gets there too late because he's having to come all the way across the zone. And then that just allows McDavid to go in and do exactly what McDavid does. You're always going to expect somebody to finish there. So I understand what Larson was doing, but I don't agree with it. And I think he's got to understand and pay attention to the situation better in that instance.
Yeah.
Let's see, because I love ECH so much, I won't tell anyone that RJ jinxed us with 10 to go in the third. Happy birthday, RJ. From Sean. That's a
Thank
heck
you,
of
Sean.
a super it's very good. Very subtle, very subtle. Nobody's picking up on what you're putting down there. But thank you for the super chat. Hey,
Much appreciated, Sean.
Look, we'll take some pressure off. I mean, it wasn't just RJ, right? Like, there's all of us were feeling good because
I couldn't have been the only one feeling confident at that point, right?
Right. No, we were all feeling pretty confident at that point because the Kraken had played 50 strong minutes. Got the reporting right. Kraken were kind of skipping and dancing in the second intermission and stuff, right? They were obviously feeling very confident about things. So, I, I think it's all right.
Like Joe with the damn it, RJ.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna take. You maybe just don't look at the comments for the next little bit.
I know. I think I'm gonna skip that little section of comments just personally.
Might be in your best interest. I really love this from Jeff. Cue up the Adam Sandler song from The Wedding Singer. I'm assuming the whole "Do you really want to hurt me? Did you really have to make me cry?" Because that's I feel like where everybody's at. Here you go, RJ. There's your birthday.
Hey, hearing you sing, that's a pretty good birthday present. I'll take that over the happy birthday song.
Yes,
you're singing it.
From Gilberto, no, not one but two Hatties we gave Edmonton this week. I mean, that one's especially tough. You brought it up too. It's Evander Kane of all people, which makes it.
I'll take the Zach Hyman hat trick over the Evander Kane hat trick any day. I'm sure a lot of you would agree with that.
Definitely. Dexter, this one made me angry. B, Kraken's inability to hold on to lead, even when they have the momentum, needs to be studied. It's amazing. It kind of is, though. Like, I'm trying to think of what changed around that 10-minute mark in the third period, RJ. And anybody, feel free to put in what you think happened there. RJ, you can look at the bottom of chat for it.
Mm-hmm.
What did happen? Why did the momentum change there? What was the event that kickstarted this for Edmonton, or really for the Kraken to kind of fall apart? I guess the only thing you can point to is that 10:57 you have the Ernie hit on Belmar, and I guess that was it.
Yeah, I don't know what else really, because I mean that was the moment, right, where I think, okay, that's the Ernie hit. That was kind of a turning point in the game there a little bit, but there's no reason that should affect how you play. I mean, and although I think this is a little bit before you brought it up, but this AK mentioning in chat here, they seem to lack the knockout blow and kill shot that took them so far last season. And I think, maybe there is an element of that. You do have a power play at that point. You also have, the power play, a different moment, but at the start of the period too, where you had, Schultz being tripped in kind of a dangerous area. You had Bjorkstrand go right after him, and it kind of negates what would be a 5-on-3. I get it. You're standing up for your teammate. This is what we've been asking for. I can't complain about it too much, but if you do take the 5-on-3 there and really deliver the kill shot, might be a different game.
Yeah, no, I agree.
As Sean pointing out, the Bjorkstrand penalty there and Fusion mix, like the flow just stopped and it was bizarre. Penalty kill got it rolling for him. Yeah, the Oilers, I think, were able to generate some momentum off that PK also.
Well, they were, because the Kraken power play was all over the place. Right. That was, if I'm remembering right, that was the chaotic power play that the Kraken have, where there was, I was describing it as high octane, but they weren't getting shots. They were just like throwing the puck all over the offensive zone to each other. It didn't seem very cohesive. It didn't seem like there was a plan to it, but that's definitely got to be it. A couple super chats here, big super chats. Thank you very much to both of you. Elizabeth starting us off. Happy birthday, RJ. Thanks for spending the night with us. I was feeling confident too. So there you go.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Alone.
Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate you making me feel a little bit better. I'm not the only one who was feeling confident.
Yes. And then from Zame as well, a genie has given you two choices. The Kraken play exactly like this every game the rest of the season, or you just take whatever the season gives you from here on out as it would normally play out. Which do you choose? Now, if you take games like this for the rest of the season, basically what you're saying is you're going to pick up 1 point for every game the rest of the way. And if I'm doing math right, RJ, that would be like a little over 60 points on top of what the Kraken already have. I don't think that gets you to playoff territory.
It does not. No, a point per game doesn't get you to playoff territory. Although I think there might be another level to Zame's question where, because if you play this way against maybe, the San Jose Sharks, you probably get the 2 points out of it. If you play this way against, it depends on the schedule, right?
Yeah, I mean, you play hockey, you're going to beat the San Jose Sharks, though. So I don't know that they're the best example of anybody. And this isn't a good Oilers team, RJ. I know they're
we pointed this out.
Now.
Yeah, the Oilers did not look all that great for long stretches of this game. I mean, I was talking about it until the very end of the game. Like, yeah, this Oilers team might not figure it out. They looked like a mess defensively for long stretches, and the Kraken couldn't put them away when they were playing that way.
Yep. Ben, praying for anything but a 2-goal lead tomorrow. I understand with you, Nick. This team has to stop resting on its leads. It happens every time, and every time it bites them in the butt. They have to play a full 60 minutes. Why has that still not registered with them? No quit. God. It's true though. I mean, we've been talking about it, and again, they got further than they had been. Okay, there's a positive there, but there's still definitely. I mean, it shows in the NHL, especially. You got to go the full way. 50 minutes is not enough. You got to go 60. Couple more super chats. Tammy, a positive was Winnie's sweet goal plus Joey's effort. Is true. I mean, Joey, another good game from Joey Decor, RJ, and then yes, the everybody in this chat. We talked about it on the live game commentary. Was Wenberg just trying to do a spinorama pass back to Bjorkstrand, or did he actually mean to shoot that towards the net? You decide.
Everybody weigh in. Let us know what you think. But good for Wenny getting on the board with his first of the season. Like, yes. I know he's not one to really care a ton about that kind of thing. Like he's not letting it get in his head. He doesn't have any goals. That's not his game. But I got to think just getting that one has got to feel really good.
Definitely. And then one last super chat. Happy birthday, RJ. The Kraken are showing they are skilled and could get out of this rut with more effort. We aren't the inaugural team, y'all. Also, Firebirds are winning right now. Yes, Firebirds looking good. And it's true. I mean, this is very much, you talked about it last time. Talked about it on the deep dive. This is very much the opposite problem of what we had year one, where we had all the effort in the world. The team just wasn't good enough. This team is good enough. It's just the effort is the question, and it's just uncharted territory for us.
Yeah, we haven't been here before. And I think it is a good reminder too, because look, year one's team, I think we realized around this time of the season, maybe Thanksgiving-ish, they just don't have the talent to be competitive. And it's tough for the rest of the season because it's lost at that point. You can't magically get the talent to all of a sudden be a playoff team or a competitive team. At least you have the talent here. And if you can fix those effort problems, there's still hope. But it's worrying because effort's never been an issue for this team before. And it is massively an issue right now.
Mm-hmm. John pointing out poor Mama Hackstall. Daniel Hackstall's whole family was at this game. Yes, unfortunate, but his doppelganger got the better of him.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. His long lost, brother or something, got the win on the Oilers bench.
Gary, they looked so passive in the last 10 minutes, not carrying the puck and just clearing it out every time. We talked about that. That is the death spiral, right? The other team's able to get enough offensive zone time that by the time you get control of the puck, you're just trying to dump it and get a change. And that is a rut that is very hard to get out of. And that is often when you see teams kind of blow it. And that is where the Kraken were the last 10 minutes there.
Yeah.
CJ, they are amazing at accumulating loser points. I mean, points are points. It's just you got to make sure you're throwing in enough wins with them.
And right? True. If you can string together wins later in the season, those loser points are going to help you quite a bit because you still stay. Basically, those just get tacked on at the end, and they're like closer to 500. You just look at the regulation wins and losses to see where you are at relative to 500. So,
agreed.
You don't really drop a full game here.
Yes. Sam, as a fan of the LA Chargers, I already have a team that woefully disappoints in the clutch, and one is too many. Yeah, that's rough.
Especially
stuff.
This last week's Chargers game, man. That was frustrating to watch if you're a Chargers fan.
Yes. Burnt Creme, this team is soft with no finishers. They get pushed around and don't respond. Outclassed. Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Bjorkstrand did respond, and it was probably not the right call to make in that moment. You had the opportunity to go up 5-on-3, and instead, momentum kind of swings the other way when Bjorkstrand did respond, RJ.
Yeah, and it was so frustrating to watch just because this is exactly what we've been telling him to do, or, the players to do. If someone has a dangerous trip like that on your teammate, you go right after him, you get in their face, and you send a message that you can't get away with that, especially in a game that felt like it was out of reach, at 3-1, not fully, but, you've got the lead there. I guess if you're down 3-1, it's easier. Just, get right in his face, but it's one of those where in that exact situation, it's probably not the right thing to do because you can take that 5-on-3 and you can beat them on the scoreboard. And I've mentioned this on the podcast a few times. There's more than one way to make it clear to teams they can't get away with that stuff. You could get in their face and respond physically, but you can also respond on the scoreboard. And I'm telling you, who was it that did that tripped Schultz down there?
It was number 10 on the Oilers. Ryan.
Yeah, Derek Ryan.
Ryan.
I'll tell you, Derek Ryan, he's going to feel a lot worse, and he's going to have to deal with a lot more, garbage tonight and beyond if the Kraken score on a 5-on-3 there and the Oilers lose another game. And, with everything that's going wrong with the team right now, then, if Bjorkstrand just kind of shoves him down and gets in his face here, it's tough. I cannot blame Bjorkstrand for doing that, because this is what we've been telling him to do. In this exact situation, though, it wasn't the right thing to do.
Well, again, it's like with the Larson play, right? I understand what you were doing, but you have to look at the situation within the context of the situation. And it didn't feel like he had in that moment. I guess, I don't know if he knew that the ref's arm was already up, right? If the delayed penalty was already there for that. I'm with you. I would always lean towards just go out there and score. That's the best punishment you can give. But also on the flip side, if you do want to be physical, go fight him later in the game. Go fight him to kick off the next game against the Oilers, right? Like, this is hockey. That's an option to you. That exists for this reason. That's why fighting is allowed in the sport. You just can't just fly in there and just bulldoze him right in front of everybody once the whistle's blown. Like that, you just can't. I don't know. Jessica, Hackstall formula. Step 1, score goals. Step 2, hey, you scored some goals. You can relax. Step 3, lose. I don't like how accurate that is.
Yeah, it's tough because it felt like they all feel a little bit different, but this one, it felt like the Kraken never fully took their foot off the gas. I guess for stretches when they were doing the kind of just dump, get back in the zone type of thing. But like, I just think of them playing keep away in the offensive zone where the Oilers couldn't get their goalie pulled with 2 minutes to go. Mm-hmm. Like, they still had stretches where they weren't taking their foot off the gas.
Yeah. Go check yourself. I enjoyed the attempted volume shooting increase, especially the Belmar goal. My Islanders friend said Kraken versus Islanders tomorrow. Loser has to fire their coach. Oh,
well, there was that noticeable difference though in the volume shooting approach. I mean, we noticed it early on where the Kraken were throwing a lot of pucks on net, whether or not it was a good idea. Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't, but you could tell the shoot the bleeping puck message at least, got through to the guys early on.
It was. Illithid, Draisaitl is a dirty player and he gets away with it all the time. Again, if you're just referring to the face-off scenario, I don't think that's
that's
wrong.
gamesmanship.
Like it's an option guys have. It's a tool in his toolbox because he's got the size. The cross check to his opponent, the Islanders, whoever that was, to the back of his legs was absolutely dirty. Yes,
that he got fined for.
Right.
Yeah, and he has been known to do that stuff. But
that is different. But as far as the two, whether it was against Matty on that offensive zone draw for the Kraken or the one against Belmar at the end, let's see. The lines are fine. The personnel on this team is fine. The mindset isn't. I think that's a very succinct, and you're right on the money there, Nicole. I think that's exactly what it is. Circling Seattle sports. Are you guys certified therapists with all these sessions this year?
Yeah, we should look into certification, see if this all counts. Yeah. And year one too. We could put a lot of hours in from year one.
Definitely. Brent Krem, let's discuss Hackstall's next job. Back to college. Philly fans warned us of his nonsensical lineups. Again, I'm with Nicole. I don't know that's the lineup so much as just the team. It isn't the effort level is the problem.
Yeah, it's a motivation issue.
Yeah. Watching the Kraken this year feels like Charlie Brown trying to kick the football from Lonnie. You're not wrong. Alan, this team played 2.5 periods. We need a full 60 minutes. I'm livid, and suddenly anything Kraken related just became so not exciting to me. That is, I think, a worry for the Kraken here, right? I mean, this is like the year one scenario, right? Everybody's excited. Hey, this team's here. Whoa, you lost a lot of games early on. I guess I'll check back some other time. And you do, if you're the Kraken, you got to worry about that being the same case here, RJ.
Yeah, you do. And we've talked about it the last couple post games about, the season ticket holder situation and then the 3-year plans. It's still present in people's minds. And, I think I saw, down later in chat too, some people feeling like they're just, they're kind of losing faith a little bit. I saw some, one with a kind of a heartbreak emoji and just, people are kind of losing faith. And I do think you are seeing that among certain segments of the fan base.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of baffling. Maybe it's just one of those seasons where things swing the other way mid-season, just trying to stay positive from Christian there. That is a possibility. Like that is absolutely something that could happen. And that's where, to your point, right? You can bank these loser points. You have games like tonight where it's not always the worst thing in the world, you can get there. A couple more super chats here. Jessica, like the stream, peeps. Thank you very much, Jessica. And then from Rayanne, call me crazy, but I still believe there is something up in the locker room. It's totally possible, right? Like this is whenever we see teams struggle with some of the stuff that the Kraken are struggling with, RJ, it's always been fair to ask that question.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's worth pointing out, I think, too. Like, look, I'm there all the time. We go into the locker room after practices, after games, but there's a lot that we don't see. Certainly whatever message Hackstall is giving to his team after a game like this, the real message, we're not seeing that. Same thing after even the home games. We don't get to see that. And there's a lot that we just don't know because it does happen behind closed doors. And so, for all we know, there very well could be, more going on beneath the surface. I'm sure there's certainly more than we know. But yeah, so it's hard to comment on when you only kind of see just how the guys are when they know the media is around.
Yes, definitely. As we're doing the therapy session, I think this is fair. I was eating a cookie earlier and she was jealous, so I guess she deserves it. Al from Edmonton, we got lucky. Next time, just pass the puck to Bouchard and wait. He is useless. We did notice that. We did talk about that in our live game commentary. Rough night from him. Yeah, it just unfortunately not rough enough for the Kraken. Dexter, sorry, just can't blame the refs tonight. You got 2-goal lead with less than 10 minutes and had multiple power plays to help kill the game. Yeah, I mean, you do. You just have to finish. The Kraken just really, really struggle with that.
Some interesting stuff here. Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
I didn't mean to catch up. From toward the end of chat, though, with the tickets and everything. Lindsay, tickets are sub $50 and falling. Good news, I guess, if you want to go to games. Definitely a sign of fans giving up on the team at home. And then this one I thought was interesting from Onslaught. Season ticket holder paying at least 3 times what my seat sells for game to game. And I'll tell you, everyone I've talked to isn't renewing. And that's been the sentiment since even last year.
Wow. I mean, I don't blame anybody.
I'm telling you, we've seen messages like that from, whether it's DMs or, everything from season ticket holders, like, that it's very real.
No, it is a very real thing. And like I said, I never blame anybody for making any decision around that or whatever. But it would be especially rough. Yeah. In that situation, when you are seeing what those are going for on a daily basis, right. It would be very, very difficult to keep going. I totally understand. Daniel, so sick of this team giving every other team exactly what they need to win. We do see maybe we're just too generous, RJ. That's the Kraken's problem. They're just too generous.
I know, the holiday season's coming up. It's the giving season, but maybe you don't have to do it every time.
Yes. Do we need a trade? I mean, we've talked about it. It's an option. It's an option.
I mean, every loss is one game closer, I think.
Yes. I mean, I guess the one thing about that we haven't talked about, right? Just to kind of put a pause on reading comments, everybody. What's your deadline? Right? When do you give it until, if you're Ron Francis, before you make a move? I mean, is it Thanksgiving? Is it that Vancouver game after Thanksgiving? Then you've got 3 days off before Chicago on the 28th. Do you give it through next week? And then, if things continue trending like this, you go, okay, I've got a couple days here to maybe bring somebody in, get them a little time with the team, and then get going.
Yeah, I think Thanksgiving is kind of a natural point there because I know other GMs use that as a measuring stick for their team and decide what they want to do. So I think you might have more potential trade partners as well, depending on how things are going for other teams. So I think probably Thanksgiving is around the time when those conversations might culminate. I think I said it on the podcast before tonight's game. Just you give it the back-to-back because like it's all craziness, 2 games in 2 days, home and away, whatever. Give it that, see how it goes. If it goes disastrously, which so far we're on the way to that, then you have to start making those phone calls right away.
And look, we do know with Ron Francis, he's okay being aggressive trade wise, right? Earlier in the year, he likes to get his business done before the trade deadline. We know that, right? So it's not like we would be asking him to kind of step out from what he's normally doing. Sean, I'm legit starting to be concerned about how this is going and start to affect a large portion of the fan base and season ticket holders. So kind of agreeing with everything there. AK, okay, address the elephant in the room, Hackstall, and don't give me the no, that's not it. Edmonton fired their coach and they are on 4 straight. Happy birthday.
I mean, yeah, because I think what what we've given you, and I think in the past is also just like, it's not going to happen. And I still believe that,
Yes.
whether you feel like it should or not, it shouldn't. He's got at least till the end of the season. Like, unless he loses the next 12 or something. And then, but no, he's got at least till the end of the season. Like, unless it gets really, really horrendous, like bottom of the standings horrendous. As for whether they should, I don't know, you just extended the guy the past off season.
Okay.
He's got to have at least a little more runway, right?
No, I'm gonna start. I'm
Okay.
starting to turn around on this, right? Like I started working on this yesterday. I'm maybe not getting very strong with the language, but what's the one thing you always say, right, RJ? There's no cap on how much you could spend on coaches, right? So yes, you just gave him a 3-year extension, but if it's not working and it's an effort problem with the team, and that's your way of addressing it being an effort problem, then yeah, you got to make the move. And you know what? Yes, you're going to be paying him to not coach, and that's not great. Nobody wants to be doing that, but I don't think you can use that as like a safety net for not making the move if you feel like you have to. If they win one game, right? If they go 1-4 over that next stretch through that Vancouver game, it'd be very hard to justify not doing something like that, right? I mean, I know we just talked about making a trade, but also if it continues to be an effort problem, I don't know what other way of really sending a message about that you can have.
Yeah, I guess I look
Unless
at
you
the
trade a
organization.
favorite guy in the room,
Well,
like you
that's the
trade
thing.
Yanni Gord.
I would go trade before getting rid of the coach.
Okay.
I'm not saying trade Yanni Gord. I'm just saying I would make a trade before moving the coach. And I think part of that's an organizational thing too, where it's that culture that Ron Francis creates. And I don't think just like he's from the perspective of wanting to do right by people, that you extend a coach in an off season and then fire him this early in the season without a trade.
What was like the record? I know he wouldn't necessarily be the person deciding this, right, Ron Francis? But when he was managing in Carolina, right, did they run through coaches at all there? What was
Would be worth looking at.
Yeah, I didn't know that I can totally look that up while doing this show. But if somebody knows offhand, to let us know in chat or something like that. But that's something to also start looking at. Right, like I said, we know that he'll make moves ahead of the deadline, but you know.
Is Brian in here? I know Canes fan. Might know offhand.
Might have gone to bed.
East Coast. Yeah,
yes,
after midnight now.
I mean, what would it take to make a coaching change actually happen? Like I said, if you really start losing games, I could see there being a feeling within management, RJ, where look, the season it's still salvageable if we do something. And that's a lot.
When did Francis take over? Do you know that?
June of 11.
June of 11. Okay. So
that's when he was director of hockey ops, and then he became general manager in 2014.
Okay, so he wouldn't have been making those decisions in 2011, so maybe 2014. I will say from the 14-15 season until now, they've had 2 head coaches.
Okay.
Bill Peters and Rod Brindamore.
Director of hockey ops, he'd be involved in those decisions.
Involved, yes. Okay, well, then you go back that far, and they've had 3 coaches. So it was Kirk Muller for 3 years, Bill Peters for 4 years, and then Rod Brindamore till now.
Yeah. JMG with the super chat. Do you think ownership is becoming impatient and may force a coaching change? Carolina would have.
Yeah.
I like I said, I think you run the risk of that. If you are worried about season tickets, if everything the season ticket holders are telling you is what they're telling us, right? And I have to assume you're all telling them the same thing. I think there would be a move, at least from some people, whether it's ownership or upper management or somewhere. And I don't know how many people, but the conversation would happen, right? That, the season is winnable. It's salvageable. We got to try if we want to, save people renewing.
I mean, I'll break it up into 2 questions. Do you think ownership is becoming impatient? Probably. May they force a coaching change? No, I don't think that's how ownership of this team operates. I think they do the right thing and let Ron Francis have total control over that side of things. I have no reason to believe ownership would get involved in any way with that. But Francis is a smart, attentive guy. He would definitely be able to see that ownership might be becoming impatient, and maybe that would influence his decision making, but it wouldn't come from ownership.
Does Francis have that power? Like, is he the decider? So
I have every reason to believe he is. Yeah. I mean, the ownership, like Todd Lewicki, he's talked about, not wanting to interfere in that kind of stuff. You let the hockey people do what they do.
Every team operates a little differently, so
That's true. Again, and what you say publicly might be different than how things work behind the scenes, but I have no reason to believe
Yep.
that ownership would get involved.
Yep. Did everyone see Piper's tweet about the team skipping to the ice before the third? I
We
mean,
sure did.
we did, and boy, that didn't age very well after about 10 minutes of the.
I mean, hey, credit to those of you in chat for the live commentary or patrons in there. A lot of them said, "Hey, I don't like this. I don't like this. This is making me nervous."
I
Sure
wasn't
enough.
a fan of it. I'm still so skeptical that change everything is always going to produce improvements from Vaharan. I agree, right? Like it's not like you change the coach and magically everything changes. We've seen it many times before. You'll get a small bump just because it really does wake up the team, right? There is that kind of small bump. If the issue isn't if the effort issue, I should say, because that is the issue, right? We all are on the same page there. If the effort issue is not coming from the coach, it's amongst the players, then no, yes, then you're right. Changing a coach isn't going to change anything. And it would just be you're doing that in lieu of making a trade because you just don't feel like there's a good trade to make. So it's tough. You have to basically the Kraken right now have to figure out where it's coming from before they make a move.
Yeah, and Zame, interesting pointing out, Piper deleted the skipping tweet.
Okay.
I mean, I get it. It doesn't look very good
No,
on
it does
the
not.
team, and given how it turned out, I'm sure she was getting a lot of mentions on that one as well. Also got a couple like from Twitter, a couple post game quotes from Hackstall potentially
Go
to
for
share.
it.
I don't know if this changes how we feel about it. I think we played a hell of a hockey game. We played exactly the way we wanted to play on the road. We worked pretty freaking hard all the way through this game today. It comes down to the last tying goal. And then another one. This one's going to sting on the way home. We've got to turn the page, get ready to go tomorrow night. I mean, that one doesn't tell you anything. But
no, that's standard coach speak. Look, he's not entirely wrong, right? Like,
yeah,
if not for the face-off at the end that gives Oilers possession and then they're able to get that goal, you can walk out of it going like, all right, things got a little rough there towards the end. It became closer than we wanted it to, but hey, we got the win and we're moving on. So I get where he's coming from. That doesn't. I'm not sure I would jump on him for that at all.
Yeah, no, I would. Again, if that last goal doesn't go in, you hang on. Everyone's reacting like, yeah, no, that's what happened.
Yep. Fusion mix, we changed to dump and chase. Like the flow just stopped and it was bizarre. Like I said, you get into that death spiral sometimes where the other team's really getting desperate. They start being more aggressive offensively. They have ice time in your zone, and by the time you get the puck, you're just trying to get a change. Right, your guys are too exhausted to do anything other than dump and chase. It's a bad spot to be in. Let's see. Lindsay parked the bus instead of staying hungry on the forecheck. Let's see. They outscored their problems last year. They can't score 4 this year from Beep Boop. Definitely. I mean, that's part of it. If they were scoring more, that would certainly help, RJ.
Yep.
Norm, Kraken played well, but had 3 power plays, other 5v5 scoring chances, and could not put the game away in the third, as has been the case in several other games. D not good enough to hold leads, bad at both ends. I think the Kraken had 5 power plays. Like Kraken went 0 for 5 on the power play. So
they did have a lot of power plays.
That is a lot, and it's the first time in a while the power play's been that rough.
Right, because overall recently it's been pretty good.
Better.
We don't want to just like hop on it, but in a game like this, especially at times where you can put the other team away.
Yes.
That's the thing. When you have those power plays that can just be killer power plays, whether it's the start of the third period with the Schultz trip or whether it's after the Belmar hit, like either of those two, you score and the game is definitively over.
Yes, definitely. 5 is enough to be like, okay, you got to get one.
Yeah,
you got to get one. The base 6. I know we're fans and it's hard not to overreact, but we're overreacting. Lol. Fact is, we took a team that is a bona fide contender. Their slow start was a fluke. Look at the analytics to overtime. That is true, right? Like and not only are they a good team, the Oilers, but they're a hot team too. And you were able to stop their momentum for a time and at least pick up a point here. Again, it's not the worst thing in the world. The problem is the Kraken are struggling against teams that aren't the Oilers. We're
Yeah,
seeing
you look
this
at games
issue all
against
the
the
time.
Flames, against the Coyotes earlier. If this is an isolated incident, you have to put it in the larger context of everything else going on. And the Kraken, I think, the main thing is they just can't string wins together. And at a certain point, this is how it works in the regular season. You have to string wins together, and you have to have those stretches where you're banking a ton of points. We saw
Yeah.
this with the Kraken last year. They kind of started slow up and down out of the gate, but around this time of the year, like early to mid-November, they went on like an 8-game win streak. And that's what banked them the points to get in playoff position. And they just haven't done that yet. And the clock's kind of running out for them to get started on that.
Yes, agreed. Lindsay, the Kraken gods got angered at the Kraken playing keep away and passing it around in the ozone instead of actually trying to shoot. They got a lucky bounce off McCann as a reward for shooting. It is true, right? Like that's one of the things that can happen if you do take more shots, RJ. You take that volume approach. They're not always clean. They're not always good looking, but they go in sometimes.
Yeah, I still don't mind the game of keep away, though. It's smart. It's what you want to do. Maybe it does anger the hockey gods. We can get into that in our hockey theology podcast idea that was suggested to us earlier this week. You talk about how the hockey gods work and figuring this out. Maybe we've learned something new here.
Yes. I was going to say, I don't know that we'll be ready for this red glare. I'm really going to try to do a deep dive into like the history of that as a saying and everything. So it might be a little while, everybody, on that, but I'm excited for it. Let's see. AK, if it's like a heavyweight fight in MMA or boxing. If you get your opponent hurt, you have to finish them, even in the face of some risk, because if you don't, when they counter, it can knock you out. You're yes, absolutely, right? Like you do need to have that kind of killer instinct. You need to just finish the job. I mean, we talked about that last game too, right? It just comes around to just finish the game. And that's something that the Kraken just seemingly can't do after they've been able to for 2 years with roughly the same core group of players, RJ.
Yeah, and I like the MMA boxing analogy too. I mean, I think that's that's a really good point.
Yes. Let's see. Not only are they a low-scoring dump and chase team with no stars, but they also constantly blow 2-goal games. You couldn't create a worse product for a new fan base to watch. From Beat Boop. They're not always a dump and chase game. I'm really going to call this one out. And I like you, Beat Boop. Like, this isn't just directed at you. This is directed towards this idea because I've read like 7 comments about it. How many times a game do we see 2-on-0s and 2-on-1s from this team? Right? They are an attack and transition team. I remember going back to year 1, RJ, when everything was falling apart. And what was Hackstall doing each and every practice? What was your report from each and every practice?
They're going through the neutral zone, practicing those rush plays with the puck going into the zone, trying to generate 2-on-1s.
Yep, that is what they want to be doing. We know that, right? They've been trying to be this from day one, and they are this. They have that multiple times a game. They can't finish on them, which is a problem, and that's why we're not really, I think, giving them as much credit as they deserve in it. And that was certainly a problem, and we talked about that through the first period on the live game commentary. But this is not a dump and chase team, okay? This is not the LA Kings of the 2012 Stanley Cup Finals, okay? This is not the Boston Bruins of old with Lucic and all those guys back in their prime, right? I've watched dump and chase hockey. It is way worse than this. Let me tell you, it is atrocious and so unwatchable. And this Kraken team is much more watchable than that. But so I am just pushing back a little bit on that idea. They do it in times, but every hockey team does it from time to time in certain situations. And yes, they shouldn't maybe do it all the time when they have a 2-goal lead. That's obviously a problem for them. I'll give you that all day. Sorry.
No, it's all right. Good to get that out,
Yes. William, this is
part of the therapy session. We got to work these things through.
Yes, it is. William, this is my fault. I was switching between the Avalanche and Kraken games. Kraken scored when I was watching. Avalanche and Oilers scored when watching Kraken. I did switch for the OT. All right, well, it's just on William.
Yeah, there we go. Nobody blame me for being confident in the third.
No, definitely.
Yeah, the Avs had a good game. Beat the Ducks 8-2.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like that's what should happen.
Beak's probably happy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there a law irrecoverably decreed in heaven which states the Seattle Kraken must give up 3 goals in every game they play unless it's game 7 of a playoff series? Maybe.
And they've been getting decent goaltending too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the unfortunate thing. It's just like someone else mentioned in the comments earlier, Vander Kane backdoor ×3. Like, what can Joey do about that?
Yeah. John, that's 2 consecutive hat tricks for the Oilers in games against the Kraken. No, yeah, no, you're onto it. You're right. Um, let's see. Kraken just got nervous because the Jonas Brothers were in the building. Is this our version of the Drake curse?
It might be. And I was asking this question earlier in the game when they showed him on the broadcast. Are the Jonas Brothers just following the Kraken around? Because I know they had a concert in Seattle recently. I know like Piper and some of the other
Was that
broadcast crew went to that one.
was
Yeah.
that right before the Oilers game? Are they Oilers fans and they're doing this specifically?
I wonder. Yeah,
It's
I
the
don't know.
timing
Because it was like right before.
remembering is right around that.
Yeah, it was, I think, right before the Oilers game and then like, lingers on to the Avs game. I don't know when they traveled up to Edmonton, but do we need to look at this Jonas Brothers tour and see, where they're going next?
I was gonna say if they play in Vancouver on Saturday or
Yeah.
Friday or something, that'll definitely be something worth
Well,
thinking.
they should be able to tell us what happened with this Kraken season, how it all turns out. They, as you pointed out in the live commentary, they went to the year 3000.
That's exactly it. I like the CJ. Megna needs to get into a game eventually. And Bryce, I'm starting to think Megna is just the friends we made along the way. Yes. Hayden Fleury,
That's one of the top comments of the season.
Megna. That is fantastic, Bryce. And also for Bryce, what do you think about Hackstall keeping the same D pairs? And did you see enough to keep them together again tomorrow? I thought they were improved tonight, RJ, right? Dumoulin had a great play against McDavid. I already broke down the failure of Larson to realize the situation he was in, and it led to the McDavid goal, right? We know what that was. I think certainly with the fact that you have to travel before a game tomorrow, you're not going to make a move. But I do still think in the long run, if you're going to be blending and shuffling around and the forward lines as much as you are, it might be time to also maybe throw one of those looks the defense way.
Maybe. And I mean, we've seen this too on back-to-backs, like more last season, where because it's a back-to-back and guys are a little tired, you might put in another defenseman there just to kind of keep the legs fresh or have somebody with fresh legs in there. I mean, for 50 minutes, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. They're better. They fix the problems. And I mean, you look at a lot of the problems too, like on that first goal, that's Adam Larson, but what are you going to do with that? You're not going to scratch him. You're not going to take him off the D pair with Dunn. So, kind of limited options there. I liked, enough of what I saw from Dumoulin, aside from the one bad penalty, but yeah.
Well, I was going to say, and it is Adam Larson being aggressive, right? He is trying to be aggressive, which is something that we've talked about. So, those are the risks you run. Who would be the defenseman that you would sit for a Magna, though, RJ? Because I think it might be Justin Schultz for me.
Yeah, I think if it is one, it's Justin Schultz. I mean, there would be probably a Magna Dumoulin pair, and they're both lefties, and that does complicate things a little bit. But guys can play their offside. I don't know, he might move Dumoulin over to the right side just so that Magna doesn't have too much to deal with coming in cold.
Yeah, and Dumoulin could handle that, I think. He's the guy for me. If you're doing something like that. Tough stuff. Hockey Mom, how did we do on the face-off dot? What were the stats? Even 50-50, RJ. In this one, face-offs between the Oilers and the Kraken, and the game went to overtime. So maybe my whole face-off thing is so that's what you get.
Kraken won the one face-off in overtime, though.
That is true. Although, really, what the one you needed was the one for the tying goal late.
Yeah.
Stratix, Skinner had 1.78 goals saved above expected. Hard to say you got goalied when you score 3, but it's positive that it took that performance from Skinner to win. It is. I am starting to get I think it was Coop in the live game commentary. At some point, the expected goals are nice or whatever, but I actually just want an actual goal and I want an actual win. I don't need to keep winning in this theoretical, if it was played on paper kind of way, RJ.
Yeah, and Skinner, I will say he was better than he has been generally this season. I think even better than he looked in Seattle for that game. Just seemed more solid and it was a little tougher to beat. He actually had one of his good games, but still, you generated enough chances. I mean, you look at the expected goals. The Kraken had almost 5 expected goals.
Yeah.
You'd like to see more than that past him.
Yeah. Beat Boop, who will draw more home fans next year, Coyotes or Kraken? Rip, just all the skull emojis there. Um, let's see. Striatic is, sticking with the ticket thing. Can the team afford to drop ticket prices next year? Maybe that would help with the renewals. I think it absolutely would help with the renewals, and I think it would certainly help get, new season ticket holders in for the fans that didn't renew. I think that is something that realistically they're going to have to look at, RJ, given what we've heard from season ticket holders.
Yeah, if it keeps going like this, I think it's something they're going to have to do.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you think the team was just underwhelmed with the off-season additions as far as the players, Daniel? Because I don't think the players would mind it, right? I mean, that means a job for you, right? Like you're not having to worry about someone coming in and bumping you down the lineup or anything like that. So I don't know that the team would be thinking that way. And if you're them, you're coming off a great season, right? Game 7 of round 2. I got to think they were excited to get back out there and get to work.
Yeah, you feel like it's in your power to go even further. You're one game away from the Western Conference Final. You're hungry. And I mean, sure, I think the team would have loved if Ron Francis had somehow brought in a superstar, to go play with them, but that was never in the cards this offseason.
Yeah. Sean, finding ways to lose when you're a decent team is very Seattle. Maybe that's it, RJ. Maybe it's just the Seattle sports curse. It's just got the Kraken early on, and there's just nothing you can do about it.
I mean, well, if you look at the games in Seattle, especially, I don't know, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, James is certainly feeling away. This is a pathetic team. Fire them, trade them, blow it all up. Horrible, horrible. How many gosh darn 2-goal leads are we gonna blow? Furious. God damn. All right. I mean, look, there's definitely an element of this that is, that's the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's fair that that opinion, which certainly exists among some of the fan base, that gets its airtime, because I think after a stretch like this, I certainly couldn't fault anyone for feeling that way. Right after a game like this, when they lose in the fashion that they did, there's a lot of frustration out there.
Yep. Elizabeth, my rep, is hounding me, and I told him to drop my seats 10K and we'll talk. I like this. So Blue Devil, in the NBA, a coach's extension is often a goodbye gift. And then Lindsay, though, brings up something good. Is this the Jack Adams curse? Hackstall was a finalist, and aren't like 3 of the last 4 winners fired, or some crazy stat like that? It is something like that.
We talked about this actually in our just media circle, kind of waiting for the locker room to open up after last game against Colorado, the one at home, the Jack Adams curse, and that you don't want to be anywhere near that award, and there were some rumblings there about maybe that was the reason.
Yeah, Edward, don't let a sunk cost fallacy sink the season. That's all I'll say with regards to Hackstall.
I'm a sucker for anyone bringing up sunk cost fallacy. So
that's why I was giving you the floor there if you wanted it. Let's see. I mean, James keeps going there. I mean, a lot of people pushing back on the idea of a trade is what I'm really seeing from a lot of people here. Let's see. Sergio, I feel sorry for you boys. You need to be positive even in a situation like this. That's where everybody comes in. I mean, we're able to still keep it up, even with the the not great comments, and we got to figure out and I don't mean not great like they're bad. I mean people being pessimistic about the situation overall, which is fair. So it's the job. It's the job.
Yeah. And again, it helps just having the group here and having still, 120 people in here to talk it all out with. I think, it's easier to kind of find some positivity when you're in a group like this, as opposed to kind of stewing by yourself and letting that frustration kind of sit.
Yes, definitely. Zoe asking, do we see Potts next game? That's an interesting thought. Yeah. Well, and I hope so. Yeah. Well, who would come out for you?
Belmar. And I'm sorry, I know he won some clutch face-offs in this game. I thought he did not play poorly, but Podorowski just brings a different element that Belmar doesn't. He's got the chance to score. He brings some offense. I'm a big fan of Andrew Podorowski. After watching him through 2 training camps with the Kraken, he always goes to the right places. He's got great offensive instincts. Like, he's such a fun player to watch too. Like, I know that if he gets a real run on the fourth line, fans are going to love him just the way that he plays. So I'm eager to see him get in the lineup. Maybe I'm a little bit biased in his favor, just having seen him through those training camps and those preseasons, but I'd love to see him next game.
You also described Shane Wright there, by the way.
Well, yeah. Okay. We don't have to worry about Podorowski's development here.
Yes, that is true. Getting him out of the situation. Lindsay, to be honest, I'm just excited to play an opponent other than the Avs or Oilers tomorrow. Has this been the worst schedule to start the season ever, or is it just me? It's not just you, Lindsay. It has been pretty bad.
Yeah, it has. And we pointed this out, I think, even before the season started. Because remember, we went through game by game and tried to predict every single result. We should go back and see how we're doing so far.
We should not.
Okay, not. But I think, look, we identified this stretch as like, this is going to be really tough. This is going to be the gauntlet. Like, oh man, you've got Edmonton, Colorado. Good luck. If you can just get through that, you might be okay. It's rough. It will get easier though as the season goes on. Maybe not immediately, but soon it'll get a little easier.
Yeah. Randall, give Turbo the C. Want to briefly summarize the like 40 minutes of Brandon Tanev just love that you had during the live game commentary?
Yeah, I mean, I love the way that he was playing to start the game. Like, he was just shot out of a cannon. These last two games too, really, where you could tell that he really missed playing hockey and that he was going to go all out 150% on every single play that he could, because he was just so thrilled to be back out there. And I do love seeing that from him. And I think Hackstall kind of knows that too, which is why he put him in a top 6 role these last two games. And I think it's absolutely deserved. Man, if only the guy could finish.
Yeah. I know. I was just gonna say. So what you're saying is he plays like the Kraken. We notice him in the first period. Situationally, we notice him in the second. I don't remember him from the third period.
I don't either.
It's just
Brandon Tanev is the Kraken.
He is the Kraken, ultimate Kraken. Fusion makes question: why does Matty skate with the puck like a guy with a small dog that's pulling on the leash? Not a dig at him, it's just funny. Are you referring to, like, as I always thought, he has like kind of textbook what you want to do with it, RJ, which is keep your hands kind of in close to each other and keep the puck straight in front of you.
And the way he's kind of hunched over too and is really low in his stance, which is good because it gives you some more mobility to make those pivots and those turns. But yeah, he does kind of get lower than other players, and it does look a little comical sometimes, but it is generally what you're looking for as a coach. Yes,
you're supposed to be doing that. So I love that idea though from it. I'm gonna jump down because we are coming up on the hour. 116 still in here. You guys are incredible. Can't say it enough. Gonna jump down a little lower in the comments though, just to catch up to the more recent stuff. Lonnie, sunk cost fallacy is actually what they're going to call their new 5-game ticket plan. Boy, am I glad I jumped down and saw that was the first comment.
Thank you, Lonnie. That's so good.
Oh my gosh, yes. Casey, is it bad as a defender to leave McDavid all alone in an odd man rush? That blew my mind. Blew my mind too. Like I said, Larson was going to make the aggressive, blue line defense play against Draisaitl, but it was
an all or nothing play.
Absolutely, yes. Autocat, I know there are fans of the Kraken, regardless of how well we're doing, most of us in here, that would absolutely go to more games with lower ticket prices. It's very true. I mean, look, there's two ways when you're a new team to a market, RJ, whether you're an expansion club or you move from somewhere else. The two ways you build a fan base is, one, first and foremost, always by winning, right? People want to watch winners. Two, have your games accessible, right? Make it affordable for people to go fall in love with the sport, fall in love with the team, make it easy to follow the team, right? So heavy social media presence, all that stuff. The Kraken do well with that. But yes, affordable tickets, make it easy to watch games on television. Just saying. Things like that. Like, that is how you build a core group as your fan base. That's how you endear yourself. That's how you build that emotional connection. And then it just takes time, right? Like, there's a generational aspect to it as well, right? Like, we all grow up rooting for the teams that, like, our parents rooted for, and all that kind of stuff goes back a long way, right? That's why the Kraken, they were never going to step out right away and compete with like the Seahawks or Mariners, where people have been watching them their whole lives. But certainly if you make it affordable to go to games, you make it easy to watch them on TV, and you make it easy to follow them on social media, you'll get a fan base.
Yeah, and especially with a sport like hockey, where I don't know that the median Seattle resident is really all that familiar with the sport in general. But as we both know, as anybody who's in this chat watching this knows, once you watch the game, if you watch hockey, if you go to a hockey game, it has a way of selling itself. You fall in love with the game. It just happens. It's happened to probably everyone watching this. You just need more people to see it and get those eyes on it, and especially get in the building, because it's a really cool experience seeing it in person too. And if this season goes south, which again I hope it doesn't, but if it does, maybe one of the silver linings to that is you get some people who otherwise wouldn't be able to get in the door, who all of a sudden are and can really fall in love with the game.
Definitely. Well said. CJ, just researching that the average height and weight of an NHL forward is 6'1" and 198 pounds. Are the Kraken forwards generally undersized in comparison and seem to get manhandled more often? I mean, the Kraken do have some smaller guys, RJ, but I don't know. Outside of like the Draisaitl thing, and Draisaitl would have manhandled just about anybody, I don't know that I think of that as really being a problem for the Kraken.
No, and you look at their smallest forwards, and they're the guys who almost least get manhandled. You look at Yanni Gord, no one's tossing him around. Kyler Yamamoto, no one's manhandling him.
Nope.
Jaden Schwartz, I think, is their other smallest forward. Like, he's always battling and winning those battles. So, I don't think that's the issue necessarily.
Yeah. Nicole, by the time the schedule lightens up, will we still have a playoff chance? And Vahrenren, they aren't taking care of the easy games in that stretch, though. And that's it, right? Like, if you're not going to be able to take care of the easy games, it doesn't really matter when we do get to an easier part of the schedule, whether or not you can turn this thing around.
Yep. The Kraken lived on it last season, taking care of business against non-playoff teams. They're going to need to do that again.
Daniel, I blame Big Al, the new radio color guy. He's always making jinxable comments and laughing about how he isn't superstitious. This is a superstition-based sport. Is all I'll say.
I mean, I'm surprised by that. I mean, he played the game. I've chatted with him the other day too. A great guy, by the way. I will say that much. He's super nice and great guy. Glad to have him on board. But maybe I'll kind of hint to him about the jinx-based comments. See if we could work on that.
Sean, is it possible this team could use the services of a captain? When one presents themselves, I think is kind of where we're at. Striatic, my 9-year-old Oilers fan daughter has instructed me to tell chat she says yay. So that's that, I guess. Good on you for being a good dad and doing it. Take some pride in that. I think that's all right. Lindsay, okay, between the Magna is the friends we made along the way and the sunk cost fallacy ticket plan comments, I'm officially laughing after being in a pretty bad mood to start. Thanks all, much love. I think that's the way these always end up, RJ. Anytime.
Yeah, I mean, a couple days ago, this is where we were, where we were just kind of feeling good and feeling happy and having a good time, even after a game that went about as bad as we could imagine. So again, grateful to all of you for that, and especially for the laughs. I mean, those two comments are fantastic.
Yes, for sure. Bryce just pointing out Dave Tomlinson is in Vancouver, who is suddenly winning.
I mean, Dave's great. I can't knock that part of it.
Yeah. And then circling Seattle sports, we'll leave it on this one. Jacob Magna for the C. So there you go.
Yes. There you go. You can never play him in a game, but just give him the C.
Yep. That would be hysterical, RJ. You know what? It would get the national media talking about the Seattle Kraken.
Sure would.
It would.
There'd be stories all the time.
Oh,
see, the real captain is the friends you make along the way.
It is. I should have talked with Magna in Arizona, given he was just right down the row a little bit there, and asked him, if he's been talking with anybody up there at CPA, right? Maybe install like I don't know, a little putting green on the media bridge there for the guys when they're scratched, RJ, for the media members when you guys so want it, and then you guys be ready to go to Flat Stick Pub and play some mini golf, RJ. I think that'd be a good idea.
That's a brilliant idea, Dylan. I'm glad you thought about that. And hey, Magna, he could earn that captaincy by just getting so much extra practice in on the putting while the other guys are playing hockey. He could go earn it, be the best mini golf player on the team.
Well, that's it. When the Kraken have that 3 day off stretch, not this weekend, but the following weekend, that's what they need to do. They need to go and have a mini golf tournament at Flat Stick, and the winner becomes captain.
There you go. Mini golf tournament for captain.
It's the only.
Hope they let me know about that so I can go in and record, see how it does, document it for everybody.
It's the only logical conclusion, right? Like it's the only the right way to do it. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for the laughs. Thanks for the therapy. We get it too by doing this. Trust us. And one last happy birthday to you, RJ, before we head out.
Thank you, Dylan.
All right, everybody. We will see you all tomorrow night after the game against the Islanders, and we'll see how that goes and what kind of mood we're all in.